Finding land for a self-build can feel impossible. So here at Mayflower Mortgage, we're here to help you cut through the noise, covering where to look and what to look for. Let's get into it. Starting with plot viability. When we say a plot is viable, we're really talking about the big questions like, is a home likely to be approved on this land? Can you actually build here? Is there safe access, realistic services, sensible foundations? Will the finished value cover the land and build costs with a healthy margin? Every site sits somewhere on a spectrum. At one end, the non-starters, protected land with no access or a plot that fails basic safety or environmental tests. At the other end, straightforward plots, sites with full planning, road access and services that are already in. Most opportunities will sit in the middle and they will be workable if they're approached correctly. So your goal is to learn quick triage. Before you spend money on surveys, you want to place a plot on the spectrum with reasonable confidence so you're good to move forward. But that's something that we can help you with. So where do plots actually appear and where do you look for a plot? The short answer is everywhere. At Mayflower, to help with this, we offer a free plot finder tool where you can sign up to get all new plots that come available within the 30-mile radius of your dream location and sent directly to your inbox each month. Naturally, we think this is the best approach and you can check the link in the description to sign up. But if you do want to do it the old-fashioned way, then we suggest a multi-channel approach for you to cover all the bases. This includes estate and land agents. We recommend you visit offices in person, explain that you're a serious buyer, share your brief and ask to be called when something suitable lands on the desk. Specialist plot websites. Sites like Plot Finder or Rightmove's Land Selection and Zoopla are useful for scanning the market. But note that competition is fair, so you need to set up saved searches and daily alerts. Auctions can also offer value, but you must do all of your due diligence before bidding. Look at things like planning history and any surveys that you may need. If you win, you're committed, so try to do any checks that you can in advance. Local authorities also have right to build registers and brownfield registers. These aren't necessarily perfect, but they can highlight overlooked opportunities or emerging plans. And finally, networking and word of mouth. Don't forget to ask locally. Farmers sometimes sell corners of their fields, families might release garden plots and small developers offload surplus parcels. We've even had a client who started their self-built journey by chatting to someone in their local pub. So the next big question is, how much does land cost? This depends mostly on location and planning status. A plot with an outline or full planning and a sought-after area can be many times the price of unconsented land in remote locations. You may have heard the term marriage value effect, which references the how planning commission transformed value. That's why some people buy without planning and then apply for it later. The potential uplift of doing this can be significant, but so are the risks. Buying unconsented land will involve a lot of speculation and this often doesn't pay off. So if you are going to go down this route, use what public information you have available to make more informed decisions. You can check local plans to see if the land inside a settlement boundary is allocated. View other local applications to see if similar approvals have happened nearby in recent years and note any designations such as greenbelt or flood zone areas. You'll then also need to apply for planning permission yourself. Outline permission agrees the principle of a home with details be provided at reserved matters. Full planning is detailed consent, meaning you're ready to build. A typical journey will start with optional pre-application advice with the council. Then your architect prepares drawings and statements. You can submit these and there will be a neighbor and consultee consultation. The case officer will write a report, you'll receive a decision and if approved, you'll likely have conditions to discharge before starting. Timelines will vary and they can extend if the council is busy or if reports are needed. Most lenders will want full planning before releasing main funds though, so timing finance and planning together is essential. Whether your land has full planning already or not, a helpful sense check is the rule of thirds. As a rough guide, successful projects often balance to roughly 1/3 land, 1/3 build and 1/3 equity or profit. It's not a universal figure, but if your numbers are wildly off that shape, try to pause and recheck or ask a professional like ourselves. And don't forget the hidden extras, things like access improvements, utility connections, demolition, planning contributions, professional fees, contingency. You should always work backwards from the finished value in that area to set a sensible land ceiling. But how do you begin to value the end result? To set a sensible land price ceiling, we recommend you start with GDV, which is the gross development value of your finished home. You can use sold comparables nearby rather than just listings and adjust cautiously for differences like size, spec and views. Then your GDV, the gross development value, minus your build costs, minus professional fees and contingency will equal your maximum land spend. If land prices break that ceiling, you need to review the profitability of your plans. So what problems should you consider? Many plots on the open market have a thorn or two, and thorns will cost money. There are many things to consider, such as utilities, soil quality, protected trees, your plot location and the local neighborhood. For utilities, try to ask suppliers early for connection quotes. Costs of £10,000 to £30,000 aren't unusual, so budget accordingly. And lenders will usually require a soil survey to verify the ground strength and contamination. Legally, your solicitor should check your plot has a clear title, boundary definition, access rights, overage clauses and easements for utilities. Trees and listed buildings can also limit where you build, as roots will need protecting. If a tree or a group of trees on or adjacent to your plot has a tree preservation order or a TPO, it means you cannot cut, uproot or damage it without explicit consent from the local planning authority. Similarly, some areas are protected. Even without a formal TPO, a tree preservation order, if the land is in a conservation area, trees are often automatically protected. They will again require notification of any work you want to carry out. Always ask about this when you're on a site visit or check the LPA tree register. If trees constrain your plot, you need to factor in additional costs accordingly, as you may need piled foundations, specialist soil protection boards or diverted services. Flood risk is another thing that's often overlooked. In England, the Environment Agency classifies land into flood zones 1, 2, 3 and 3B for planning purposes. Zone 1 is the lowest risk and zones 2 and 3 are higher. You should check the flood map for planning service and your local strategic flood risk assessment, which is called the SFRA, early on. Suppose you're looking at plots with a higher flood risk. In that case, you may be required to include a sustainable drainage system strategy, raise finished floor levels or avoid basements altogether. And insurance costs can be higher or unavailable, especially when lenders are more cautious if the area looks like it may become a higher flood risk in the future, because flood risks do change. Distance to connections is never an easy one to solve either. You might find a beautiful plot, but if it's miles from the mains utilities, that is something that needs to be planned accordingly. We recommend you check distance to nearest mains water, sewer, electricity poles and gas. If the land is close to existing infrastructure, or if long trenches will be required across fields or roads. If the local electrical network is capable of supplying the size and spec of the home you plan, and what the broadband availability is like. Depending on how remote your plot is, service connections can cost an additional £10,000 to £25,000, but you can get more accurate estimates by ringing up your local water company or broadband provider to ask them directly for any information you need. And check your neighborhood. Your plot location might feel perfect now, but what about in the next 5, 10 or even 20 years? You may have open fields adjacent to your plot, but are they earmarked for housing allocation, or are there any major infrastructure plans nearby that could bring noise or traffic to your area that's unwanted? Think about any social infrastructure you'll want to either now or in the future. Things like schools, shops, healthcare or public transport, and try to visit the neighborhood at different times of day and days of the week if it's somewhere new for you. This can impact your quality of life whilst you're there, and the resale appeal when or if you want to sell the property further down the line. So what to keep in mind when you do go looking for a plot? Access and highway safety. Is there a safe legal way to drive onto the plot? If access crosses third-party land, do you have rights in the title? Orientation. Flat plots are usually cheaper to build. Slopes can be beautiful, but they often mean retaining walls, deeper foundations, or split-level designs. South facing also helps passive solar light, but consider some overheating and shading. Surroundings and amenities. Would you enjoy living here long-term? Listen out for road noise, kennels, pubs, farm machinery, and look for nearby developments that are approved or proposed. Services proximity. How far are you to mains, water, electricity and sewer? If there's no sewer service, private drainage is possible, but rules are strict and you will need compliant designs and space. Ground conditions. What's underfoot? Clay, peat, high water tables, made ground, all change, foundation design and cost. Planning context. Is this inside a settlement boundary? What has been approved nearby recently? Has this very site been refused before, and if so, why? If you are struggling to find the one, remember that you could also look for a replacement dwelling instead. A replacement dwelling is when you buy an existing house that's often old or run down and you apply to demolish it and build a new home in its place. This works because there's already a lawful residential use on the site. Planning authorities tend to accept one home out, one home in locations where brand new homes are otherwise restricted, and the advantages can include that services are often already in, the access is already established, the neighbors understand the site's use, but make sure you do consider things like demolition costs, design limits and conservation areas, and how much larger the replacement can be under any local policy. So if you're looking to start your Southfield journey by finding a plot, good luck, and don't forget to sign up for our Plot Prospector tool to get personalized notifications sent directly to you, and our team are always here to answer any questions you may have.